Hey, hi, hello, friends. And it's good to see you. Hello, friends. It is I, and I have returned. And it's only been 2 days. Look at that. I didn't make you guys wait a week. So we're back with another video. I said I was going to actually react to her my therapist dumped me video, but I actually decided to do that for patrons. Instead, we're going to talk about her I bought cotton underwear for you or something like that. I forgot what the exact name of it is. I could look it up. I could. It is a genuine possibility. Let's see. I bought cotton undies for you. That's what the video is called. So we're going to actually react to that. Once more, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to Just Saying, because it is her video that I have clipped down to about 7 minutes. And we're going to talk about just those clips. You guys know my policy. I can't talk about her entire video. I know there's a lot of creators who are doing some lovely live streams. I cannot do that. I don't have that kind of energy. It takes a lot of effort to be entertaining for that long and be a presence on camera. Your girl don't have that kind of staying power. More importantly, I just have filming issues, so I film at weird times. Sometimes it's night. You guys can't always tell because I have lighting setups, but a lot of times it's just dark where I am. And so I'm filming in the middle of the night when partner is still working, and I won't be able to get anybody in the streams. There's no point in me doing that. So I figured recorded videos it is for me. So not doing recorded content, I like to have it as concise as I possibly can so that you guys aren't bored. So I'm not just sitting here being completely silent the whole time, or God forbid, just listening to her chew, which is the worst thing in the world to me. And yeah, hence the 7 minutes. And as you guys know, I will jibber jabber. With all that said, let's actually get into it so you guys can listen to my jibber jabber.
I'm just woke up not long ago. Well, I mean, about an hour and a half ago. Talked to my mom. No. So.
Okay. I just find it. Oh, by the way, sorry if you can see a little shiny dot here. I've got an acne, and I assume that's what the singular of an acne is. I could look it up, but I'm not invested enough in the answer. No one tell me the answer. But I have a little thing here, so I've got a little patch on top of it just because it hurts, man. You know, sometimes when you've got one right on the bone, that's irrelevant. What I wanted to talk about was Chantel here, and she's like, well, I was awake for an hour and a half. I called my mom. I find it telling that she's calling her mom now, because as you guys know, she and her mom have not been talking to each other for quite a while now. They haven't really been in contact, and I don't think she's been to see her mom since her grandmother passed away. And so now that she's no longer talking to him, and she seemed more serious about it, more committed about it this time than she was any other time. Not that I think it will stick, to be very honest. I think now she's gone back to her mom and saying, I know, Mom, I know you weren't happy with me, but look, I dumped him. Please don't be mad anymore. You know, I really need your support right now. The same way that she does with us, where she does the play for sympathy, and I can't believe he treated me this way. And of course, unlike us, her mother probably loves her, right? Not probably, more than likely, her mother loves her. Her mother seems like a relatively nice, normal person. And most people, even if their kids are shitheels, love their kids. And she will be much more sympathetic, much more willing to forgive her. And that's what I'm saying about it making it hard for us to discern what her motivations are and why people go to secondary channels to kind of get an idea of what's going on in her life. Because she so often curates her responses to situations in her life based on who she thinks will be watching. So sometimes it's for the benefit of Nader, and sometimes it's for the benefit of her family, who we know she's on the outs with right now. And so I think she does it a lot of time as a play for sympathy. And that's why I find myself doubting the veracity of her claims of abuse, the veracity of her just claims of being sorry about her behavior previously, because I feel like she's not talking to me. She's talking through me to the people in her real life whose opinions she actually cares about, whose opinions actually make a difference to her in her life. I don't think she gives a singular shit whether or not people in her audience are upset with her. If she did, she would behave significantly differently.
He has 2 phones. If I'm laughing, it's because people are messaging me behind the scenes. But, friends, not people who give me STDs.
Friends like Shannon, because Shannon was a friend, and Shannon stood by you, and she talked to you, and she wanted to help you when it came to your friend who did give you STDs, right? The kind of friend that you burned out of your life because you were so incredibly stuck on this toxic, horrible man. And I don't believe her for a second. I don't think it's like actual real life friends. I think it's just people off on YouTube who she's still friends with, and maybe even Karate Joe. Lord knows that terrible behavior isn't make or break for Chantel. And last but not least, if you're going to call this your job, that this is how you earn your money and that you deserve workplace protection from harassment the way that other employees do, then you have to behave like it's a job. I've had one time in my entire life where I've actually been told off by my boss for like talking on the phone. And you guys know I work in a lab. I don't often like have this issue because I'm in a basement laboratory, but you know, still somebody walked in, they're like, hey, she was on the phone while she was doing computer work. And my boss is like, hey, it just looks bad. Don't do that. Right. And that was it. There's very few positions in which you can just have your phone and be texting with people and it still be considered okay. And beyond that, it's unprofessional. It is unprofessional that you are here doing content that your members are paying for, and yet you're also having conversations like at the same time. Either be here and be present and keep it short if you can't be on there for very long, or don't do it, you know, or just like if you're going to have a stream, try and be as professional about it as possible. This will irritate people more than anything else.
Yeah, I am going to the health department. Don't worry. I don't know if I should go tonight or if I should go I may as well just go tomorrow morning first thing. I know, I want to get in the phone so bad.
All right, it's been 24 hours or so since she's actually put this video out. So if anyone knows if she followed through with that, I would really appreciate it. I personally don't think she has, but I mean, my personal opinion has nothing to do with it. Either she has or she hasn't, but I haven't actually kept up. I'm a few days behind on her video. And because I guess she doesn't have Koki taking up all of her time anymore, she was incredibly prolific and she's put out like literally a billion videos. I don't have that kind of time. I just don't. I'm waiting for my girl Just Saying to come in and condense it all down into like 18 minutes or something of like digestible content. And then I'll watch that. I don't have the time to watch like 8, 9, whatever hours that she's put out.
I want to see what's in there. The nerve to upload a shitty video. That wasn't edited by me. It's probably Amanda's edit job. I don't know. One of his groupies. There's women who message him, do you need money? Well, then again, people love Chris Watts too, right? So...
Two things I'm going to say here. One, don't... Okay, let's focus on the less important thing first, okay? You edited a ton of his videos. You don't get to talk about, well, how dare he put up another video. He was putting up videos while you were talking about him, like, potentially kicking your cat, and while you were actively talking about how he beat you. So he was putting out videos then, too. I don't know why you're surprised that he would stoop to these levels. If he could do it then, why wouldn't he do it now? What difference does any of this make? And to him, money is money, right? You're the one who gave him this opportunity. Why wouldn't he make the most of it? You did this to yourself. You brought this on yourself. Second of all, please don't casually bring up people like Chris Watts. If you guys don't know who Chris Watts is, I believe the proper term for it is he's a family annihilator. He brutally murdered his 2 daughters and wife. And like, he's a really terrible person. And unlike people like, Ted Bundy and the Unabomber, whose victims are way in the past, this is relatively recent. I think it was like 2008, maybe even more recent than that. I read the book that came out, which was not very good, talking about him. And there was a documentary on Netflix that they're talking about Chris Watts, and that one was a little bit better. But it's not a subject that I think many people should watch. It's not really easy to engage with. And if you have kids or even children like in your life that you love, it's going to be a really difficult thing to watch. It was for me. I had a very hard time with it and I had nightmares about it afterwards. It was bad. I shouldn't have done it, quite frankly. Shouldn't have read the book because I did it back to back and it was such a bad idea. I had trouble sleeping for weeks. But when it is that fresh in people's minds, and when the victims, his victims, when their families are still alive and breathing, don't casually put it as a throwaway line, because someone out there is really hurting. Someone out there is missing their daughter and their grandchildren. Like, this is not an acceptable way to behave. That's not an acceptable example to throw out there. And it invokes in me the same feeling I had when she said, "Why don't you go react to the Holocaust?" Now, I know that was a bigoted statement, but it's the implication there that something that horrific should be brought to the same level as talking about Chantal. Like, understand, he's a bad person. He did bad things to you. I agree with that. But let's also be very clear. You are not a victim the way that those people were victims. You were not, I don't want to profit off of it. I'm not going to bring up like names and I'm not going to point anything to it. And she mentioned Chris Watts, and that's the only thing I'm going to say. That's the only person who I'm going to mention in this. But you are not a victim in the way that they were. You know, you went into this eyes wide open. They were 100% innocent. Because by comparing him to Chris Watts, you are comparing yourself, even if it's inadvertently, to the people that he harmed. And I'm sorry, but a lot of your actions were brought on by you. You were warned, you were told. People have tried to make you aware of his actions for a very long period of time. And you've either blocked them, ignored them, denied them, or flat out and out refused to believe them. You went into this with your eyes 100% open. You went into this with a clear understanding of who and what this man was. And the fact that you're surprised now is just astonishing to me. And personally, I can't help but feel that it's being put upon, right? I can't help but feel that the only reason you're mad is because you found out that he's cheating on you, quote unquote. Because she mentions that they were just friends at the time when she thinks this happened. I don't think that's when he contracted the virus, but, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's bacterial or viral. I think it's viral. But when she mentioned, she's like, well, we were broken up, but you know, you don't just hop into somebody else's bed. If you guys were friends, then it doesn't matter. It wasn't cheating technically. Not that I think that's when it happened, but regardless. So please, like, it's not just for her. I can understand with someone like Ted Bundy, with it being so incredibly pervasive in like day-to-day comments. It's so pervasive in day-to-day culture with the billion documentaries and the Bundy tapes and all of these things that have come out about him. You know, I can understand why it is such a, I guess he's become almost a cultural landmark. And same thing with, you know, people like the Son of Sam and things like that, right? They've become part of the mythos of the country. Sorry, I have a hair on my lip. They've become part of the mythos of the country. So when you talk about them, I can understand them being referenced in certain situations. But when there are victims, their families, when it's so incredibly recent, you need to be more careful in how you bring these sorts of issues up. And I think she's so used to not caring what anybody else has to say or think that it doesn't even occur to her.
All they can do is wipe the phone. Why else would you put a face recognition and a passcode? Something like, I don't lock my phone. I don't know. I don't care.
Everything I have has face recognition and a passcode. And honestly, most of the apps on my phone have secondary passwords, and most of them are locked so that no one, if anyone ever does get into my phone, they won't know the password to get into those apps. I am pretty big on the whole like security thing for myself. I've had issues in the past before where someone got like access to one of my accounts. It was like a really minor thing, but it still like freaked me out. And honestly, at the end of the day, it just helps. I have anxiety as it is, and so this sort of stuff helps me. More importantly, wanting those things is not a sign that you're doing something shady. Like I said, the most telling thing on my phone about me is it will probably be the number of like streaming services I have. Okay, I have like 4. So it's going to be that. But beyond that, there's really not that much information on there that I think is incriminating. Like I said, I'm an incredibly boring person in real life. I don't go out partying. I don't drink. I don't have wild stories to share. I'm not on dating app. I don't do anything. I go to work. I hang out with friends. I spend time with my partner. Pretty much it, right? Like I don't lead a very exciting life. I travel occasionally, which speaking of, I'll get to that at the end. But that doesn't mean that I want people going through my phone. That doesn't mean that partner has free reign over my phone. I don't like it. I have boundaries. It's a boundary that I'm setting, that I don't like people going through my phone. It is irrelevant what I have on my phone. I don't want you going through it. I don't want people having free access to my phone. That's it.
I have nothing to hide. That's why. I'll let you go through my entire phone. Like, he's taken my phone and gone through it, like, against even me wanting to. Yeah, I should have neglected my own health today.
The fact that you claim to have such strong boundaries and yet at the same time let somebody else go through your phone when you weren't comfortable with it says to me that I don't think you have any idea what boundaries are. It's also why I think she's so good at like just saying, well, I still think that that was like cheating, because she has no idea what actual boundaries of a relationship, are, what the boundaries of like being intimate with someone are, what the boundaries of a friendship are. That's why she walks around pantless with Pete's. She doesn't care. All she cares about is what she wants. And all she cares about is setting boundaries for herself. All she cares is people adhering to the boundaries that make her comfortable. She doesn't care about reciprocating. And unfortunately, if you're not willing to respect other people's boundaries, people aren't really going to respect yours. Not that I think this was okay, but I don't think she has any recognition of what a boundary is. That's why she can't respect it in other people, and that's why she lets other people like net or walk all over hers. She just thinks that she is, which is why she'll create an illusionary boundary that she set for herself that she expects other people to respect.
To take care of him, and all I got was screamed at. I just want to take care of my house, take care of my life. I've been neglecting. My fucking fire alarm is still chirping. All for what? What do I get out of this? An STD. Like, seriously, what do I get out of any of this? No, my therapist, like, I need to find a different therapist. So...
What she gets out of this is the belief that she is wanted, because she puts a lot of stock in how other people view her, which is part of the reason why she pops off so easily on the internet. It's because if he wants her, that means someone wants her. That means she's worth wanting, because she doesn't have any internal sense of self-worth. She doesn't believe that she's worth wanting. She can't make herself believe that if there's nobody there actively wanting her. It's one of the reasons we saw her spiral so fast when BB and her broke up. Because even if a lot of that love was gone and that relationship was like on its, dying breaths, she still did not appreciate the fact that there was now nobody there who wanted her. It's why she moved in with Pete, somebody who she knows always wants her around, because he relies on her for social interaction as much as she relies on him. At least for that in that one sense. It's why, we see a lot of the behavior of when he rejects her, why she spirals so suddenly. By he, I mean Nader in this case. Why she spirals so suddenly. Because she's based so much of her own sense of self-worth on the opinion of this one person that without it, she feels incomplete. That's what you get out of it. That's not a healthy way to live. You can't base your sense of self-worth on anyone, no one. Your sense of self-worth has to come from inside. You have to believe that you're worth something on the inside, because without it, stuff like this will happen. That's not to say that a relationship is inherently a bad thing. I've said this a bajillion times before. A relationship can be a good thing. If you get into a relationship with someone who is good to you and who loves you and who wants you to be happy and healthy, they'll encourage you to better yourself, to get into therapy. But that doesn't mean that inherently every relationship is like that, or that every relationship needs to be like that. Not everybody needs that encouragement. Not everybody needs somebody to tell them, like, constantly saying, maybe you need therapy. You have to be able to recognize what you need to do for yourself, and you have to make that commitment to getting better. And that's the part that she lacks. She lacks the commitment to anything really, but honestly, the biggest commitment that she lacks is the one to herself, for self-improvement. And without that commitment there, she's not going to get better. Look, change isn't easy. It's a very hard thing. People especially don't like change. I don't like change. I'm like very against it. Almost every change that's ever happened in my life has happened against my will. But it's a necessary part of life. You have to change, adapt or die. And it's true in all parts of life. So you have to learn how to change. You have to learn how to adapt. You have to learn how to get better. And you have to commit to getting better. I don't like it. I'm not good at it myself. And it's why I am in therapy. It's one of the many reasons I'm in therapy, is so that I have someone that I can bounce this off of, that I have someone that I can talk to about this, so that I can be better at it. Not everyone is inherently good at stuff like this, right? We all carry the burdens of our past, our traumas, everything with us from day to day to day. And sometimes it makes it much more difficult for us to recognize what's good for us. That's why we have objective people to help us. And sometimes it can come from loved ones too. Don't think that, if it's coming from a biased source, that it's necessarily a bad thing, but it can be harder to believe from a biased source. But until you're willing to get to that point, until you're willing to make that commitment, you're never going to get better, and it's never going to change into anything else. And not making a choice is technically making a choice. She's choosing not to do anything, and she's hoping that she can just, I don't know, make it go away. She is, I said this in my patrons only video, but she's using the ostrich method of dealing with her problem, which is bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away on its own, and it won't. None of her problems will. That's why she needs therapy so badly.
Which I will do first thing. Tomorrow's health day. How about we do that for Vlogtober? We take care of every health issue ever.
I haven't watched any of her new videos. Somebody tell me if she actually did that, though. Press X for doubt.
Jerry now calling. People are gonna call. Let it ring fast longer so I can answer it. Somebody call. Somebody call. On Messenger so I can open it.
You won't be able to open it that way, because even if it's on Messenger, it'll ask you to input the password. That's kind of the whole point of security, is that it's secure. If anyone could just get into it by answering a phone call. Can you imagine?
I do feel depressed, yeah, because I mean, I know it's funny, haha, STD, and it's like, it's a big joke to a lot of people, you know. It's almost like too unreal to even be not a joke, really.
The reason why it's a joke to a lot of people is because you put yourself in these situations. People have a variety of different reactions to the way that you behave. They can go from concerned to angry to finding it funny. People all look at this and get different things out of it. I find I go somewhere between being angry at you most of the time to finding it funny a lot of the time, right? And the reason for it is because you're an absurd person. You're an absurd person who doesn't learn. And there's something about the idea of karmic retribution that makes people gleefully happy. It's not so much that watching bad things makes me happy. It's just I like the confirmation that if you behave like a shitheel in life, that it will eventually come back to you. And this is what we were talking about when we said serious consequences, right? Like we've said this, a bunch of other channels have also talked about this. I'm not claiming it's an original idea, but we talked at length about how when you engage in risky behavior, that eventually you're going to come upon a boundary that's been set for you by just the limitations of real life, right? It's just that you're living in a society, and honestly, actions have consequences. You've been engaging in extremely risky behavior with an extremely awful person for a pretty long period of time. And there were going to be consequences. And so far, you've been treating the emotional consequences of being with a person like this, quite frankly, completely without any kind of like, I don't know. She hasn't given the due time to process any of the negative emotional impacts of being with this person have brought. She doesn't care, and she doesn't view them as real because they're not tangible. She can't hold them in her hand, right? She just dismisses them and buries them, which is honestly not a healthy way of dealing with a lot of your mental health problems. Ignoring them does not make them go away. And the reason I think she does that, honestly, is because I think she doesn't view mental health problems as being real. For all that she accuses us of not caring about the fact that she's mentally ill, I don't think she treats mental illness as a real illness. That's why she can just dismiss it and ignore it. If you were running a fever of 103, you wouldn't just dismiss it and ignore it. You would go get medication for it. But she routinely ignores her own mental health because she doesn't view it as being a real issue. She just ignores it. And as much as I wouldn't want anyone to really get an STD or experience something like this, if something is going to happen, I'm glad that she's facing a consequence now, as opposed to continuing with this risky behavior and potentially, you know, winding herself in the hospital with a broken arm because she fell down the stairs. You know, if this is what it takes to make a break from him with a clean break, then that's what it takes. Because God forbid she move in with this man. Honestly, if she moves in with this man, I don't even know. It could be so much worse. So much worse.
But I also am like fucked up from it in ways I probably won't realize for the next year or lifetime. Like I put a lot of energy and a lot of emotional energy, a lot of love, I basically gave everything I had.
But why did you give everything you had? He has never, ever been as invested in this relationship as you have been. So why did you invest so much into this man when he clearly was not doing the same? Why did you feel compelled to do so much for this man who was clearly not doing the same? Why did you not recognize his behavior for what it was? And that's something that you have to work through with a professional. And quite frankly, she talks about, she's like, well, you know, I'm probably going to be dealing with this. You know, I won't even know the full, you know, repercussions of this until later. And I'm sure some of that is going to happen. There are deeper realizations that come when it comes to stuff like this with like traumatic relationship stuff. That said, I also can't help but feel that she's setting up like future dramas that she herself will cause for ratings, for whatever, because she's bored, you know, or self-sabotaging. And she's going to use this as an excuse. Like, even if she does manage to find herself in a healthy relationship, she's going to like cheat because she's like, well, I was in a relationship before and, you know, he cheated on me. So I'm just doing it back before, you know, you can cheat on me too. People think like that. And she's got enough faulty thinking that it wouldn't even surprise me if that's where she goes.
I almost don't want to do this, guys, but Cinnamon, you're crazy. You think I'm ever going back to that?
I mean, I'm not surprised that she doesn't want to do that. By that, she's referring to therapy. And as for her saying that you're crazy if you think I'm ever going to go back to that, I hope that she is telling the truth here and that she's really never going back. But her track record, unfortunately, speaks for itself.
Never. Like, I had cash in my purse loose. I said, here, just to give it to him, like to hold on to, and then I gave him my card to use for the other stuff. I think I screamed at him, or that I was abusive too, because he made me believe I was. He made me believe I was doing something wrong, being abusive, like it's my fault, like I'm doing something so terrible to him. Like I actually feel like shit about myself. That like you guys sure STD is exactly from like.
All right. Yes, a lot of times when you're in an abusive relationship, that's exactly what they do. If she wants to understand what gaslighting actually is, this is what gaslighting is. This is what gaslighting does. It makes you believe. He will push you. They will push you. I shouldn't say he, because women are just as capable of doing it, as we've seen from Chantal. People will push you. They will push you and they'll push you and they'll push you to make you feel like you're crazy, that the reality that you have seen, smelled, touched, heard, and tasted was not the reality. That what they are saying is the reality of the situation and that you are crazy for ever having believed otherwise. That's what gaslighting does. And so I can totally understand that, you know, he would say to her that, oh no, you know, you were the one who was being the abusive one. You were the one who was being the awful one because you yelled at me. I totally believe that's something that could happen. That said, I don't necessarily know if she is the type of person who would be completely docile. Because I'm sure that he did that to her, but I'm also pretty certain that he probably drove her to like scream and yell and kick and like, just metaphorically, I mean, you know, basically have a meltdown, have a tantrum in front of him. She's done it in front of us where she will call him 4 billion times and she'll throw a giant hissy fit. So I can believe that she's done it in front of him too. She's done it over the phone with him. It's how she behaves. And the part of that is not recognizing boundaries. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that she has done that. So when she's saying that, you know, I was never like that. It was all him. It was all manipulation. It's just another one of those deflection of blame onto another person. I'm not saying that he's not the bad guy here. He objectively is, but not recognizing your own like problematic behavioral pattern means that you can't change them, which means that if you ever do find yourself in a healthy relationship, you're going to drive that other person away. It's one of those problematic things where you have to like unlearn negative behavior for you to be in a better place later on, right? She doesn't get into these situations despite of the fact that she has this horrible personality. She gets into it because of her horrible personality, right? She is difficult to tolerate. She has attachment issues. She is very irritating. She's easily attached. She's manipulative. She's mean. She's overall a pretty toxic person. It's why she attracts other toxic people.
STD is exactly from like sex only and not from like bacteria or something. I don't know. Like an old maybe like yeast infection or something. I don't know. It's not my channel. I don't have access to. He could easily change his password or whatever. Sorry, I don't have experience with gonorrhea and STDs. I've never had this shit.
I mean, Okay, yes, true to a certain degree. Sorry if the audio quality changed a little bit. I am relying on the onboard mic rather than my headphone mic because issues. But I can understand that. But at the same time, this is like basic health information. You don't get, like, it's called an STD for a reason. It stands for, the S in the STD stands for sexually transmitted disease, not sanitarily transmitted disease. Like, that's basic information. And I think that you should know that. I don't think that that is too much to ask for.
Like, never. No, I did research it, but it's not clear, like, if you can get it from other than sex. My 10-year-old cousin got an STD from a public toilet. Really, Black Beauty?
No. That is, the chances of that are minuscule. They are so incredibly small. And why are you looking up alternate ways of getting an STD? I feel like she's trying to find, she's like Googling for justification. Because then she can say, no, it wasn't actually from cheating. She wants a reason. She wants a reason to go back. It's just a matter of convincing herself. It's not that she doesn't realize he's a toxic, disgusting person. It's just, how long can she get away with it? How long can she get away with, like, I don't know. How long can she just convince herself that he's not? What will it take for her to make herself believe that it's fine? You know? She just needs some reason so she can bury her head in the sand again.
Gonorrhea is only from sex. I just googled it, Mama Bear. No, I don't know if it is that, though. That's the thing. But that's what it looked like the symptoms. I find it traumatic, like when...
It doesn't matter what STD he has. There are only two possibilities here. Either he had an STD before he met you, in which case he should have disclosed that information to you before y'all started having unprotected sex. Or two, he didn't have an STD before you met, and he got an STD while you two were together. And the chances of him getting an STD from a public toilet are like 0.0%. I'm sure it's a little bit higher than that. I'm being facetious. But it is very unlikely. Either way, unacceptable.
And scream at me because, like, my dad always did. Or, like, I've been screamed at by a lot of men in my life. So it's, like, triggering. I don't know. I don't know if I should...
You don't know because you haven't discussed it with someone who could actually tell you if it's triggering. And it's not like you treat your triggers with any kind of respect anyway. They're called triggers for a reason. Remember when you claimed that potato chips were a trigger food for you and then you kept buying potato chips even after that?
Talk about it. I think I'll save it for another time maybe, about the STD thing. I have a bit of stomach pain and I do burn when I pee, so I just don't feel right. How did I get involved with somebody like this? So I ordered all this stuff from Amazon because he made me think I'm dirty. So I got antibacterial wipes, some kind of perfume to put in your crotch. That's my thumbnail. I got cotton undies that are supposed to be, like, good for bacteria and stuff. You know? So...
I don't really think any of that stuff does anything. Like, I don't think you're supposed to use antibacterial wipes down there. Your vagina is actually relatively self-cleaning. It has a pretty particular pH. You don't want to use things down there that are not extensively meant for, like, internal use and stuff. I think the only one that I can think of is, like, Summer's Eve or something like that. That's, like, a feminine wash, and it doesn't, like, disrupt the pH of your junk. So... check with your doctor before you use shit like that. And please don't spray perfume down there. Please don't do that. I don't know the thing about the cotton underwear. I don't know if that's actually true. I mean, it's definitely more comfortable, but I don't know if that's true.
Because it was like, I'm in a different province, so I need to go get a panel done at my clinic with my doctor. I feel sad. I feel sad for treating myself like this and being stupid. Like, I feel embarrassed. Like, he's embarrassed and worried about his reputation when I blasted about him online. I'm embarrassed because I let this shit happen to me and everyone saw it but me, you know?
Yeah, that's being embarrassed for your reputation. It's people assuming that you have a poor judgment when it comes to the character of people. And that's the reputation that you pride yourself on, that you know people, that you're a very worldly person. You're this party animal and you did cocaine and you really understand the way the world works. You're not like a pampered, frilly person. You're just really real and you're gritty and, you know, you're like the fucking, I don't know, like Paris Hilton back in the early 2000s or something. That's the reputation that you care about. But you care about it nonetheless. And quite frankly, it's not that everyone else saw it before you did. You choosing to ignore something and you not seeing something are actually two very different concepts. Please don't confuse the two. You saw it, you just chose to ignore it. It's active, willing participation on your part.
It's classic textbook. When I heard Pete say, fuck him, oh my god. If I see him, I'm gonna slap him in the mouth and like... It's me or Pete.
So what you're saying is that you brought this horrible toxic person into your life, and now he's threatening the life and safety of one of your only remaining friends. What you're telling me is that not only have you brought unhappiness and discomfort to yourself, but you've brought it to your only remaining friend. Nice.
I know, I'm saying way too much. Hey Meeks, I guess my biggest frustration with you is I was you. I stayed with an abusive man, married him, and defended him until he almost took my life after gutting me, did horrific things and left me to die. Oh my god. That, like, honestly, just like... I didn't realize that a lot of the hate is coming from frustrated people who are victims of domestic violence and, like, a lot of the time in really severe cases. And
I don't like what she's doing here, because she goes, I didn't understand that a lot of the hate I'm getting was from, like, frustrated people, right? And she realized that, and she's like, oh, there's no way that I can convince them of that. So then she tacks on of domestic violence, and then she goes one step further, because a lot of people were talking about how they were victims, they've experienced one form of abuse or another, and they're coming from that. So she goes one step further, and she goes, of pretty severe cases. You know, she's narrowing it down. No, the vast majority of hate that you were getting and are probably still getting is for people who are frustrated with your behavior in one way or another. People are mad at you for a variety of reasons, and they have been for a very long period of time. And the fact that you are choosing to ignore that doesn't make it any better. You actively chose to engage in this kind of behavior. You actively chose to act like a terrible person. You actively chose to be with this man. You actively chose to lie about your addiction, to take drugs on camera, to just overall behave in as reckless a manner as you could be and turn your fans into enemies. So you don't get to come on here and you say that I didn't realize. If you didn't realize, it's because you actively were ignoring them. Maybe you would have realized it if you weren't going around blocking people left, right, and center while still taking their money. Maybe you would have realized it if you were willing to engage with any of the comments that people were willing to give you. Maybe you would have realized it if you read your comment section. Maybe you would have realized it if you talked to your actual friends, like Shannon. Maybe you would have realized it if you talked to your actual family, like your mother. You know, the one who lost her own mom and then you didn't go see. You can't expect people to have sympathy for you and forgive you in this case, because you went into this with eyes wide open. You convinced us of that at every single fucking turn. You don't get my sympathy now. You don't deserve it. I'm going to keep my sympathy. I'm going to extend my sympathy to people who actually need my sympathy. People who deserve to have my sympathy. People who haven't been using the cord of my sympathy as a way to leverage their way back into my life so they can continue to be a toxic presence. Absolutely not, ma'am.
I just never thought of that, you know?
Of course you didn't. You don't care. That's why you don't think of these things. You don't care about the other people that you could be impacting. Other people are not real to you. The people on the internet aren't real to you. That's why you can just continue to be a garbage person of them on the internet.
I've been very self-absorbed and just everything, but so I'm sorry you went through that, and that's actually really scary. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just wish that.
Yeah, you don't have anything to say because you're still not engaging with what she actually said. You're not engaging with it, and you're not willing to engage with the frustration that so many people on your channel have. You're not willing to engage with the disappointment that so many people express. Because you haven't really talked about how it impacts other people, how your behavior impacts your audience. You've just been talking about yourself, how it impacted you, how he impacted you, how the comment impacted you. Because you still don't have any recognition of the other people who you're hurting around yourself. And that's why it's not going to change.
I just feel like talking about it online is going to make it a lot worse. What do you know what I mean? Like, I just think people are just...
I mean, I don't know if it's going to make it better or worse. I'm sure he's going to have words to say to her, and I'm sure he's going to say them in private. But I honestly don't give a shit. Like I said, I don't care if he's impacted by it. As for making things more difficult for her, I'm sure it will, because people are mad at her, just like I'm mad at her. Just like I'm not willing to give her any sympathy. But she's saying this to hedge the fact that people are going to be mad at her. She's saying this, she's like, well, I said it wouldn't be good. This is why I don't like sharing people. So she can set up that story arc again. It is all an emotional manipulation at this point. She's playing on us for sympathy, and she's saying this so that when people call her out for the fact that she went into this with her eyes wide open, she can say, this is why I didn't want to talk about it, because I knew you wouldn't understand. So she can play the victim all over again. She just self-victimizes at every single turn, and she expects us to feel bad for her.
Everyone says gross things. I don't agree. I've seen people say you agree with, I don't know who, like somebody was saying comments about like, I've seen really mean comments from trolls or people saying, like, you weren't, like, the hammer comments or whatever. Like, that's just, of course that's fucking disgusting. I would never, that actually is, that's a disgusting comment, you know. But,
there it is.
I've seen just very disgusting things she said, too. You know, so...
The two things that she's comparing are not to scale. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the hammer comment that she's talking about is the costume that she had, like where she was bleeding on the side, and someone made a comment about how if she's dressing up like FFG after her ex took a hammer to her. If I have the wrong context for that, please do let me know, because like I said, I miss a lot of things. But that was horrific. That was horrific, right? And so you're saying there's some very disgusting things that she said as well. She has never said, as far as I know, she has never said anything even remotely as horrifying. So when you sit there on your fat ass justifying that sort of treatment of another person, but you still expect us to have like sympathy, empathy, care for you, no, I don't. I don't have sympathy for you. You brought this on yourself. You did this to yourself. Just because you have no self-preservation instinct and you are determined to cause yourself pain doesn't mean that I have to keep extending sympathy and empathy to you. Especially because you're not willing to send it to anybody else. You're sitting here and you are belittling what somebody else went through in an abusive relationship while asking for sympathy for the fact that you went through an abusive relationship. She said a lot of really horrible things, I'm sure, at least as far as Chantel is concerned, about Nader, especially, but also about Chantel. But be honest with yourself, Chantel. How much of that was deserved? I have said, honestly, very, very hard things to hear to you. But I'll be very frank with you. You have deserved most of my ire. You have.
Like talking about someone's dead child or, you know, like this. People just, it just goes too far.
Okay, that was the end of the video. Just one quick thing. She was talking about somebody's dead child. If I'm not mistaken, I think she's referring to people talking about Negs's child. I don't think FFG has done that, but I could also be wrong. Like I said, I don't consume all of her content. But if she has, I would like to know. If any of you have proof, I want like a timestamp clip or something. Because this is an accusation that people from like the antis throw out a lot. And they've said it about me as well, when I have never, ever mentioned pretty much anybody's children on this channel. I don't, because they have nothing to do with my content and I don't give a crap about anyone else's kids. Like, to be very honest with you, like why would I talk about them? There is no relevancy here. I don't just bring up people for no reason. So do let me know if she has said something like that, but I don't think she has. And it would be just like Chantel to paint somebody with that brush. When she was just a few seconds ago sitting there talking about, you know, how, well, I guess even Chris Watts has fans. Using somebody else's children in that manner. You know, someone else's dead children, in this case, in that manner. She's okay with herself doing it, you know. But no, other people did it too. And I'm 99% certain that she's throwing out this accusation without any actual proof. All right. That will be it for the video. Sorry about the audio switch midway through. I apologize for that. I hope it's not too terrible. As for Chantal, I'm feeling a little bit burnt out on Chantal. I am taking a little bit of a vacation. On the 15th, I will be going on vacation for a little while. And so I'll probably not be posting for the second half of this month. And then I'll come back sometime in early November. And I think it'll serve as a nice break. I might still consume content, but I probably won't be posting unless it's like shorts or something like that. I'm just really over Chantal right now. She is very, very annoying to me. I'm finding it harder and harder to be kind to her. And I find myself at the end of my rope with her. And I don't particularly like saying and doing mean things. And I find myself wanting to sink to that level because, like I've said, I have anger issues myself. I want to hit her where it will hurt her. And causing people pain for no reason is not something that I enjoy doing. It's not something that I should do. And I don't think it's a proper way to behave. So rather than engage in that too much, I'm just going to keep myself in check. And I'm going to go on my trip. And then when I come back, I'll look at this with fresh eyes. So this is just my warning. I'll probably be here for another week and I'll post videos on and off. And then I might even actually talk about Amber for a little bit because it's been a while. And yeah. That will be it, I think. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you hated this video, go ahead, give me a thumbs down. That's all right. I respect everybody's opinions here. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell down below. Hit all if you want to know when I upload any videos right away. I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job I'm doing here and you want me to continue, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to, and it's not necessary, but it genuinely does help me out. And I want to say a special thank you to my $25 patrons, Oceana Song and D. Higgins. Thank you guys. I love you so very much. You make so much of this possible. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Dainty B, Jam Beans, Sidra Z, Colleen L, Debbie Elliott, Just a Jude, Kate O, and a special thank you to my $25 patrons, D. Higgins and Oceana Song.